So what I've been working on the last couple months is rebuilding all of the Does It Pencil courses. The last rebuild was 5 years ago, and things have changed. The markets have changed. Perceptions have changed. Some financing stuff has changed. The world has changed. So I'm going through now and rebuilding all the courses. And I think that the new delivery of these courses will be great. Every subsequent Does It Pencil is a little bit better than the previous one. I mean, I hope so. So that's what I've been working on. And today what I did was I unveiled one of the time value of money modules to the group. You're going to get to see that as well. A little problem with the equipment, a little bit of jittering going on. You'll see that. That's a technical thing that I've worked out. It'll be resolved by the time we deliver the final courses. So if you've never done time value of money, if you don't know what it is, I'm going to show you one of the integral videos to it. This is something I do a lot of in Does It Pencil. It's a very, 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 very important skill to know how to do. Okay. The last part of this session is a group discussion, and we basically covered three things. Chris brought up a question about Trump and some mortgage liquidity stuff, so we kicked that around. And then I showed the group something called the CNN Fear and Greed Index. And that's an interesting tool to be aware of, and you can just go look it up on it's CNN.com. It's the Fear and Greed Index. But that's a very simple barometer to look at sentiment, and sentiment plays a hugely important role in the money markets, real estate, investing, stocks, bonds, all that stuff. And we finished up today. I told a couple stories about a friend of mine who lives in the Pacific Palisades. It was a year ago that they had those horrific fires down there. And I'll share some stats with you that I got from him. He was there. He saved his structure. He was on the news. He was the hero of the neighborhood. He did an amazing job. Outstanding. I'm very proud of him for what he did, for sure. And I'll share some of the egregious numbers that they're dealing with down there. Okay? So that is what we have for today's Does It Pencil webinar. And you can join us every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific. The link is at doesitpencil.com. So hope you enjoy this session. Okay, now we've talked about the logic of time value of money. The next thing I want to talk about is balancing the number of payments per year. This is a very, very, very important part of doing time value of the money the right way. Now, this is one of those things, like I keep saying, it's going to seem a little weird the first time you see it, but if you do it a few times, it'll make sense. And the good news about this next thing I'm going to show you is if you just do one preset on the calculator the right way, the calculator will take care of all of what I'm going to show you next on its own. But I have to explain to you what it is first. And this is what it is, and this is what I'm talking about. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say that a borrower is going to borrow $100,000, right? So we're going to call that the present value, right? It's the lump sum that occurs once at the beginning. And let's say that the borrower is going to borrow this money for 30 years with monthly payments. Okay. So monthly payments is 12 payments per year. So if a borrower is going to borrow the money for 30 years with monthly payments, how many total payments over the life of the loan will the borrower make? 360, okay? In time value of money speak, this is what that looks like. It's 30 times 12 payments per year, okay, which equals 360, okay? So if you want to write this down, here's the first note that you can make. The first conversion that's made in time value of money is as follows. Term is times number of payments per year, okay? So in other words, N equals times number of PYR. That's the first conversion, okay? The second conversion is with the rate, and it works like this. Let's say we're going to borrow this money at 12% interest per annum, so 12% per year, but again, monthly payments. All right. So the next question here, now we figured out how many total payments there'll be. The next question is this. What is the interest rate per payment? And the answer would be 1%, which is 12 divided by 12 payments per year. Okay. So the second conversion is as follows. IYR is divided by number of payments per year. So there are two conversions that occur in time value of money. One is with N and one is with IYR. And both of those conversions are balanced by the number of payments per year. N is times number of payments per year. IYR is divided by number of payments per year. Okay. Now, again, I say, and I know I've said it before, if you've never done this before, it might seem kind of weird. Once you're going to do a couple of example problems, it'll all work itself out. The other thing I said was that if you just preset the calculator for the correct preset, the calculator will take care of it on its own. All right. Now we're going to do this problem again in just a minute, but let me just finish up the setup by showing you the following. In this problem, we're looking at monthly payments. All right. So here's how we're going to preset the calculator for the correct number of payments per year. Okay. This is going to be our key presses. We're going to type in the number 12 and then press the gold key and then press the PMT key. All right. And before I do that, take a look at the display of the calculator. You see where it says 0.00. Okay, I'm on the calculator side of the split screen here. Upper left-hand part of the calculator, 0.00. Right below it, it says PYR 1. Okay, right there. You see that 1? Okay, so what this means is this calculator is currently preset for 1 payment per year. But our problem is 12 payments per year. So we have to reset the preset for 12 payments per year. And here's how you do it. 12 gold key payment, which looks like this. Type in 12 on the keypad, 1, 2, and then the gold key, and then press the PMT key in the top row. 12 gold key payment. And you'll see here, in the upper left-hand corner of the calculator, it says 12, but below it, the very teeny tiny letters, that's what you care about. It says payments per year, 12. Okay. That is the correct preset to handle a problem that has monthly payments. Okay. As long as you have that preset correctly, when you enter the N value, there's one little thing I'll show you next, and all the conversions will happen, and you can forget about the last 8 minutes of your life.
What about Trump's announcement yesterday about putting $200 million to mortgage-backed securities?
Yeah, that's new to me. Tell us what's going on. I was not aware of that.
I don't know a ton about it, except that he's signaling some perhaps long-term commitment to affect mortgage rates by getting involved in the mortgage MBS market. Right?
I can't understand a word he's saying.
Yeah, there's all kinds of reverb coming through.
Yeah, it's a brutal lead.
I think I need to find a new provider besides Zoom.
Oh.
Okay, so can you hear me okay, Kelly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Just tell us what he's saying.
Oh, that's good. As long as you hear me, everything's fine in the world, right? Okay, so what he said was yesterday Trump announced he's going to put $200 billion or gazillion or whatever it is into mortgage-backed securities. Okay. Now, I did not read the article. I will today. But what it sounds to me like is now the government is acting like the Fed did during the COVID time with quantitative easing. It sounds like what that is. So what happened in quantitative easing is essentially the Fed bought the government's debt, right? So what these things typically do, is they are a signal to the markets. Okay, so Trump is sending a signal to the market saying it's going to be okay. And if you know how, see, mortgages, I'll just mention this real quick. Some of you may already know this, some of you may not. If anybody here has a lending background, I'm wrong, please do correct me. But if we go back to the financial crisis of the 08-010 time, basically there were multiple problems. But one of the bigger problems was this: sentiment, okay? The trust in the system. And what happens with a mortgage, which is really not a mortgage, it's a promissory note secured by a deed of trust, as we know, but let's call it mortgages for an easier term. What happens with mortgages is they're bundled and they're sold on the secondary market, okay? So you could have like a school district or a foreign country or somebody like that. And what they're basically buying is a bond. That's what a note is. It's an IOU. It's like coupon clipping, okay? And there are rules in America that govern large investment pools of money. I'm not talking about banks. I'm talking about like pension funds. And one of these governing things is called ERISA, E-R-I-S-A. And ERISA requires, it mandates by federal charter, these big pension funds have to have, and life insurance companies, have to have a diversification in their portfolio. So they're mandated to buy certain types of things. Okay, and then that kind of gets into the nature of demand deposits. I'm not going to talk about that today. That's an econ thing. But what happens in those markets is that it goes like from the retail and then eventually makes its way to the wholesale. But as it's been explained to me, there's a middle piece, and that's the piece where it's like there has to be enough cash to go from when the mortgage group, a bond is issued until the receiver buys it. And this was a big worry that was going on in the mortgage industry during the meltdown, was would there be enough cash available as kind of a holdover until things went from one place to the next. I might be off a little bit in that analogy, but my guess is that a part of what that money Trump's going to pledge is because they're having problems with the liquidity in that market. Okay. See, a lot of the macro market, the economy in general, and people don't really think about this because they don't have to, a lot of it has to do with sentiment. You know, how do people feel? I don't know if I've shown you this before. I'm going to right now. I'm going to go to CNN.com. Actually, I'm going to just do a search real quick. It's called the Fear and Greed Index, which is not something I would recommend to, put your IRA account in, but it's actually kind of interesting. Okay, so this is what it looks like. That's what the CNN Fear and Greed Index looks like. This is the first time I've seen it neutral in the last year. So most recently, it was over here at extreme fear the last time I saw it, like about a month ago. Well, it says here a month ago, fear was 32. Haven't looked at for a while. So for about a month and a half, apparently, it's been neutral. Now, this is overview. I've never hit this button called timeline. Let's see what this does. Okay, so it's basically a plotted graph. Okay, this is something that you guys should check out and kind of know about. It's called the CNN Fear and Greed Index. And it tends to be somewhat of a good measurement of market momentum. So here's the S&P 125-day moving average, okay? I don't know if you guys remember or not, but right about here, I was telling you, hey, you guys should go buy some stocks because this is when all the tariff stuff came out and everyone went, oh my God, fear went up, the market went down, and look at what's happened since then, all right? So I'm not saying you got to listen to me every time, but sometimes I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes. Okay. So I don't have any more information about that. I don't know. But usually when a government official makes an announcement like that, it's usually also because there's a problem.
Did anybody read the investment blocking that they buy all the properties and they're not going to allow that anymore? I don't know if that's just Washington.
Is that by foreign countries? Like China buying
No.
Texas?
No, like the investors that purchase blocks of homes,
Like of homes? Right.
and then but they're not going to allow that anymore.
And are you talking about in Washington State or federally?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I just read it, and I think HUD put it out, so that would be federal, maybe.
Trump is talking about eliminating institutional investments from large private equity firms and stuff.
Yeah. I've read a couple of okay, got you, Jeff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I read a couple of articles about BlackRock, who went in the, '09 to 011 and just bought like neighborhoods at the bottom of the market, and they've done quite well. But see, and I cannot quantify this, and Jeff, maybe you can, but I know as a talking point that this has been attributed at some level to the lack of supply, is that these large pools of money have gobbled it up. And that's one of the reasons you don't have movement in certain markets, is because, it's all controlled by these big pools of money like hedge funds. So there's just no product, and it turns us into a nation of renters. That's kind of a conspiracy point, but yeah, there is that. So I don't have the dope on that. We'll have to look up that one too. If you got some, Jeff, you got to unmute.
I was just going to say, Joe, that may be an act that's been twisted due to conspiracy theory.
Yeah, it might be getting giant sized. I don't know. I just saw something about it. So, one quick update I will give you is this week was the anniversary of the fires in the Pacific Palisades in LA. And one of my dear friends who lives down there, he actually started sponsoring Does It Pencil like 25 years ago when I first started going to Los Angeles. That's when I met him. And he's a mortgage broker, but he's lived in the Palisades his whole life. And I can't remember if I told you guys this or not, but when the fires came, he stayed. He did not evacuate. And he had me edit some video for him last week, and he was just on the news. He was on TV for the 1 year anniversary. I'm actually going to write a blog about him this week. But he stayed there, and he helped out, and it's kind of crazy what he did. I'll talk to you more about it later. But the point I wanted to make is, and I asked him this specifically because he's in the real estate industry. A year later, according to him, the Palisades has only issued like 11 or 12 building permits, and Malibu has issued 0. 6,000 homes burnt down in that fire, plus all the commercial stuff. You don't hear about it anymore because it's not, the buzz of the day. But count my words today, people, insurance costs are not going down. They're not. And just for point of reference, he bought the house he grew up in from his mother's estate when she passed. And I've been in it. I've stayed in it several times. It's about 2/3 of the way up the hill in the Palisades. Great view looking south down the Pacific coast, right at LA. The view is just, it's awesome. It is a 1961, I think, built home. His dad built the house. It is just a typical 1-story rambler, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, probably 200 square feet, 2,200 square feet. He has a terrific pool. He built some outdoor living stuff there. I mean, it's okay, but it's an old house. What do you think it's worth? Just guess.
1.2.
4.5.
$6.5 million. Yeah. I mean, they say location, and all that stuff. But what's interesting about him in that story, so that fire was in January of 2025. I think it was November, his insurance company, State Farm, said, we are canceling your policy in March, I think, of this year. So they gave him like 5 or 6 months heads up. And he bought all the extra goodies, the riders that went on his policy. So when the fire came, he had a rider on his policy that said, if there's something happens, act of God or whatever, you guys have to put me up in an apartment. So he is now living in a 2-bedroom, 1950s, single-story garden apartment in Santa Monica, like a block off Ocean Boulevard. 2-bedroom apartment. Take a guess what his rent is per month.
$5,000.
$14,000 a month for rent.
Wow.
And the insurance company's paying for it until further notice. His structure is still standing. He says he has like $900,000 worth of smoke damage, and the insurance company still hasn't settled. He stayed and saved his home. And the insurance company's still fighting with him.